Hello, lovely people. So, this is part 2 of my Taylor Swift painting tutorial. And so, if you haven't seen the first part, I think you should start from there. And what I'm doing right here is emphasizing the shadows on her eyelids and above with Beryllium Purple by Winsor & Newton. And while I'm doing that, let me just tell you that in the first part I mentioned how it would be on my Patreon channel, the outline of this painting, but it is not because I lost the scan of my work, of my original outline. So as soon as I have a chance, I will draw another one for you. I'm not sure it's going to be the exact same because I already have one of these paintings, so but it's going to be a Taylor Swift line work or outline. And of course I will also record how I paint that as well. So I think that the main point of painting anything with watercolor is to not get too strong too soon, because then it's just going to lose its point. I mean, what I love about watercolors is its airiness and how transparent it is. But once you get too deep, once you paint with a lot of saturation, it will lose its freshness and its beautiful transparency. So as you can hopefully see, her skin is almost transparent. Of course, it's perfect. And then as I get to the shadows, I slowly paint and repaint every single shadow until I get to the satisfying point. For example, right now, using this beautiful warm kind of warm tone brown, I'm repainting the shadows around her nose. And I did repaint it before, as you could see in part 1, but I wasn't satisfied with the intensity, so I redid it again. Now, using indigo blue, I am creating a contrast around her eyelids, and before that I painted just a small stud in her ear as an earring. And I think I mentioned this before, that when painting with watercolors, why I don't like using pens vs tubes is the fact that when I lift the paint from the pen, then it's very saturated and I have to like kind of wipe it onto the palette and then dilute it with water. So for me, it seems like a lot of extra work. Whereas with the tubes, I can immediately just squeeze from the tube onto the palette and then dilute it to my desired outcome. And I think that is the single reason why my paintings from 1 or 2 years ago even, they are just so very saturated and they don't have this beautiful transparency that you can see here on this Taylor Swift painting. So what I'm doing now is I just gonna keep continuing to create deeper, darker shadows using a mixture of green, sap green to be precise, and I'm also mixing a little bit of permanent green into it, and I mix those two with yellow ochre and this beautiful brown that you can see, this deep brown. And with these three mixtures, I'm just trying to emphasize the contrast between the lightest parts of the hair and with the deepest ones. So I could paint it with yellow, but to me that is such a fake blonde color that I came up with this idea, let's try green. And I would like you to let me know in the comments section whether it's working or not. I think it's kind of working. I mean, when I look at her hair, I don't see green. I see that her color is light, which is kind of the truth. Since she's most of the time she's kind of a blonde. So here um, I just had a look at the reference photo and seeing that wherever the shadow falls around her hair, it seems like kind of brownish, and otherwise she's a dark blonde on the photo. So this is what I'm trying to get through. However, it may still look like more of an illustration than a painting, but I think these two things kind of lap together. I'm definitely not a realistic kind of artist, so I paint whatever I paint. I would call myself, the most I would call myself is semi-realistic, since it does have some relation to realism, but I just prefer paintings that are, kind of, it just doesn't look like the real life thing. I think for me, art would be something that is different from reality. And what do you think? What do you like to paint? Do you like this new modern style of photorealism? Or do you like to paint more like freely and maybe with different colors that aren't necessarily true to nature? I mean, I kind of love, Anna Bucciarelli's art, and she's a Canadian botanical artist. I think I can call her botanical artist, but she mostly paints flowers, and she paints beautifully, and she's kind of hyper realistic to me, at least. She's a hyper realistic artist, and I kind of love her style, but even she can sometimes alter colors, or she can get her point through, which is to get lost in the details, I think. So if you haven't seen your art before, I highly recommend that you Google her art. I will leave a description. I will leave a link in the description below to her art and also to her YouTube channel. I think she's brilliant. And she also does sometimes free workshops. So if you're interested in painting flowers, I also highly recommend her. So I don't know if I've talked about this, but there are these little flower thingies. I think they are flower kind of hair clips in her hair that I painted purple, pink kind of shades. And now I'm doing the leaves around the flowers. It's just something pretty to add into her hair. So one's eyeball is never actually really that white, and I also wanted to emphasize the line below her eye. So I painted it with turquoise the helio, the same exact turquoise the helio, the same exact same shade that is her eye color, and I just used it a very diluted version, so you really can't kind of see it when you look at it. It's just a little trick, a little nuance of difference that it makes. Next, what you can see is me painting the background with beryllium purple mixed with this warm brown. I have no idea the shade name, but it will be listed in the description below. And I mix the two colors to create a beautiful transparent and also fading effect. So when it gets around her figure, it will be almost completely white, and the further it gets away from her, the darker and deeper it will be. But before you start painting, you need to really wet the whole background area, which I cut because I think it's just so boring to watch, and I can just tell you to do so. You don't need to watch me wetting the background area for like 5 minutes or so. And I know that my brush seems kind of too small for this large surface. I'm painting on a size A4 paper, and the brush is a size 10 Escoda Perla brush. It's my favorite. And the reason why I'm using such a small brush is to make sure that I get exactly the way I want it, which you will see in a second how slowly it fades into a deeper version of this beautiful purple and brown mixture. And then once I'm done with that, I'm just going to make sure and add some nuances of shadows. Like for example, just below the hairline, it's always darker, and also below her nose there is this beautiful cupid's bow that I wanted to emphasize, since Taylor has this very pretty, very beautiful lip line. It's very sharp and it's very kind of cute also. I am really fond of the way her lips are formed, and just in 1 second I'm gonna make sure that it is more emphasized with this same exact warm shade of brown that I used all around before for shadowing. And I think that any kind of warm tone brown would work for here until it's not granulating, because granulating will make her skin look not so perfect. It will just look like she has some skin problems, which she doesn't. She has a very beautiful, flawless skin and also makeup over that, so it needs to be perfectly seamless. So my love for Taylor Swift started not so long ago. It's still mm, this year. I think it was in 2024 that I started admiring her work, and thank God I missed all of the drama around her, because now I can just simply focus on her music. And also I think there are so many different opinions on the internet that I don't want to hear. I want to hear mostly kindness and nice things. And even though I read about all of her controversies and all of the issues I think that happened to her, I can be just opinion free kind of, and just like her music for what it is, because she creates some really amazing, and also what I'm in and awe of, that she creates very diverse music. Of course I love folklore and evermore. I'm just that kind of person, but I still like to listen to her more pop kind of songs as well. So yeah, I first listened to her song. I think it was The Love Story, and I didn't particularly love her voice. I really mostly love kind of deep and kind of like low sounds. So she was kind of the opposite, and so I didn't listen to her. I knew she existed, I knew she was doing good, but I just didn't listen to her songs. And now, like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years later, I'm listening to all of her music and I'm just like shocked how great she is. So right now you can see me painting dots around her is just my personal style to paint dots wherever and however I can. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and in a second you will be able to see the finished result. Unfortunately, I didn't recognize that the painting was a little bit off camera. And thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!